What time? Good morning and welcome to all of you. This is obviously the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Columbia. My name is Rebecca Drennan, and you know our minister is Stephen Robinson, who we're going to hear from today. Our services are streamed on YouTube and Zoom, so no matter how you choose to join us, you're always welcome. We encourage everyone to read the announcements in the order of service. Again, it says using the QR code, and I still don't know how to do that. So all you genius computer people can teach me that. But you can always pick up a copy, of paper copy in the foyer. So we also provide you with weekly email updates every Thursday. Don't forget to check out our website too. Liz, back right there, is our webmaster, and she welcomes any kind of input that you can give her. We're a congregation that welcomes families with children. And today, after the Story for All Ages, children are to be dismissed to their CYRE classes. And for infants and children up to age 5, we do provide childcare, and we'd love to have more childcare volunteers in there. Paid positions are also available. So to be a volunteer, all you have to do is reach Bethany Sterlassi or Jonathan White. This morning, the Share the Plate Committee would like to remind you that today is the last day to vote for our 2024 Share the Plate recipients. Their preferred method is online, but there are a few paper ballots on the table in the foyer. If you have any questions, see Linda McLeod with your questions, and I know she'd be more than happy to meet them. I hope, how is it, Linda? Have most people voted, or? Some, yeah. This is the way we decide which nonprofit to give our Share the Plate. So it's so important to hear your voice, and thank you to all those that have already voted. As always, we ask you to silence any devices that you're carrying as we center ourselves for today's service and listen to the prelude.
We welcome back J.P. Flood, who will be joining this morning's prelude improvisation for Native American flute as a drummer.
Thank you, JP. Would you all stand now and join me with the Congregational Covenant? It's printed in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant with one another. Thank you. You may be seated. So, welcome to all of you. You know, but it's wonderful to celebrate and say again that we are a diverse and non-creedal religion. Our community is based on deeds and not creeds. We are a covenantal religion, which means that we don't have to believe the same in order to treat each other the same, with respect, equity, compassion, and dignity. We side with love, embracing and welcoming all people. Our board members and committee chairs welcome your questions and comments and ideas. Board members may be recognized by their green name tags. And now we would like to recognize any guests or visitors who are here today. I'm going to ask, yes. Here we go. We want to bring a microphone around, wait for the microphone. And then if you're here for the first time or a second, if you'd like, please rise and share with us your name and where you're from. If you have guests with you, please feel free to introduce them. Do we have any visitors this morning? Here we go. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Barbara Mellon. I'm here with my son, Alex. We are just visiting from Florida. My mom, Ann, is a member here, and we're members of the UU congregation in Tarpon Springs, Florida, north of Clearwater, west of Tampa.
Wonderful. Welcome. Happy to have you here. Anyone else? No? All right. Thank you. Thank you. And now we move into a deeper, more sacred space, and we do that by lighting our chalice. Today's chalice lighter is Kathy Patchett, a friend of the community. Spirit of love and light, come into us. This morning's opening words are from Donald Cooper. Oh, music first.
I invite our singers forward, and you may notice a change. We have, after many years of being the UUCC Adult Choir, chosen together to now call ourselves Chalice Voices. And this morning we'll be singing Simple Praise of Trees. It's a melody from Vivaldi's Four Seasons with harmonies by Gretchen Schleicher and words by David Densmore.
I raise my arms in the forest and join the simple praise of trees. I raise my arms in the forest and join the simple praise of trees. In the forest, I raise my arms and join the praise of trees. I raise my arms the praise of trees. In the forest, I raise my arms and join the praise of trees.
I've been asked to say a few words about the early European origins of Unitarianism. This Wednesday was November 15th. November 15th in the year 1579 was the date of the death of Francis David in a dungeon in the Romanian city of Deva. Francis David was a Christian bishop who was one of the most important early founders of Unitarianism. Since David's version of Unitarianism was a form of Protestant Christianity, it had a long and complex previous history. Furthermore, predecessors of Unitarianism had been established earlier in 16th century Poland, with their own towns, their own churches, their own schools, and their own printing presses. However, eventually all forms of Protestantism were driven out of Poland, including the Polish form of Unitarianism known as Socinianism. Francis David was born in 1510, the son of a German father and a Hungarian mother. David was born in what is now called Cluj, a city in the central part of Romania, which is called Transylvania. David gradually shifted his religious orientation from Catholicism to various forms of Protestantism. By 1568, a debate on the Trinity held in the Royal Palace of Transylvania marked the beginning of Unitarianism. Soon David, who won the debate for the Unitarians, was recognized as the outspoken advocate of Unitarianism. In 1576, David was appointed as the bishop of the Unitarian churches in Transylvania. However, David was not as good a strategist as he was a theologian. Eventually, he was found to be guilty of theological innovation. The punishment for such innovation was life imprisonment. As we've seen, he died in a dungeon in 1579. Unlike Poland, however, Unitarianism did survive in Transylvania and in parts of Western Europe before coming to America. Next spring, I hope to offer a more extensive treatment of the history of Unitarianism.
Thank you, Don, for bringing a great history with that anniversary this week on November 15th. I know you are used to seeing Don as the face that greets us as we come here when we walk in. So good to see you up there as well, sharing. So, all right. We look forward to even more in depth of that. This time, I invite any of our children and youth that want to come down for the Story for All Ages to join me down front. And if there are any guest children that are here, after this, thumbs up. After this story for all ages, we have an activity afterwards with a mandala event, is that right? So you're welcome to join as we wrap up here. So I'm going to stand for this so I can show you this book and so the other members of our congregation can see it as well. Yes. Lucille. What? You have a question? Oh, that's a good question. Well, you won't be here for the Candles of Community, but Linda Brennison is going to light a candle in just a few minutes to recognize Monday being the Transgender Day of Remembrance when we light our candles. So sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, but Lucille wanted to know. All right. So this month of November is also known as Native American Heritage Month. And today we are studying about that heritage and that history, and particularly looking at different tribes and a group of tribes that formed in the northern part of the United States and Canada. And so I thought I'd share today a little bit of this book, which is called Enduring Wisdom, which is Sayings from the Native Americans. And so I just wanted to share a few of these, and I think you'll like the ones that I highlighted because they talk about you a little bit. So give me a second. I'm going to pull that over here. All right. So let's see what we can find. These are just simple quotes. So this is one that you can share with your parents, all right? You ready? This is from Marie Shona, who is a Papago woman. She says, "You see, we have power. Men have to dream to get power from the spirits, but we have power. They're called children." Hey, feel powerful with that one, right? And here's another great quote. "Brother, our ancestors considered it a great offense to reject the counsels of their women. They were esteemed the mistresses of the soil. Who said our forefathers brought us into being." Beautiful. All right. This one's kind of like good advice here from Wabasha, who was a Dakota chief. Writes, "Guard your tongue in youth, and in age you may mature a thought that will be of service to people." That's a good line. All right, moving on. A few more quotes that I want to share and see the beautiful artwork. And this is actually from the particular tribe and federation, an Iroquois chief in 1645 writes, "I am the mouth of my nation. When you listen to me, you listen to all of the Iroquois. There is no evil in my heart. My song is the song of peace." Very cool. And then the last quote I want to share, and we have a whole book of these that you can enjoy. This is from Red Jacket, who is also from that same federation, a Seneca chief in 1830. "We also have a religion which was given to our forefathers and has been handed down to us, their children. It teaches us to be thankful for all the favors we received, to love each other, and to be united." So I hope in this month, as we are celebrating in here, as the adults celebrate Native American Heritage Month and listen to the wisdom of those people who were on this land long before any European settlers came, that you also have a great experience this after our service today, or during our service after this time, enjoying the mandala activity. All right, thanks for coming down.
We sing the children out using the text in the order of service. Learn your lessons well, my children. Seek your truth in the wide unknown. Love each other, work together, and search for wisdom and happiness.
this point in our service, I invite you, if you have a candle that you would like to share, whether it be a joy that you're sharing with this congregation or a concern that you would like to bring for support and connection and community. I invite you to come at this time, briefly share your joy or concern, and place your candle here.
Hi, as mentioned earlier, I'm Linda Brennison, and today I'm going to be lighting a candle of concern and of remembrance. Transgender Day of Remembrance is an annual observance on November 20th that honors the memory of the transgender people whose lives were lost in acts of anti-transgender violence. So today I'm lighting a special candle of remembrance for all those who lost their lives.
Hi, I'm Susan Lacasey, and a lot of you know Cliff, and his partner Rick is actively dying. And after Janice sang that wonderful song on the Day of the Dead, Cliff asked her if she would sing at Rick's funeral, and she said of course she would, but did Cliff think that Rick would like her to come and sing to him now? And he said of course. And she came yesterday. Cliff called me on the way over here, and he said in his whole life, it's probably the most meaningful thing that's ever happened. Yeah. Well, I have a joy, concern, and a request from Social Action. Our joy is that we do have some money that's come in for guests at your table, but it's about 1/6 of what we usually get at this point. So I'm asking, I know this is a terrible time of year to keep asking and asking for things. The other joy is that many of the ornaments have been taken from the tree, but there's a 77-year-old man who would like a color TV. Now, I know a color TV is probably too much for any of us to go out, but someone in the congregation may have a color TV that they're not using, that they don't know what to do with, and they might be able to donate that. A 77-year-old man probably doesn't have much he's doing during the day. And yeah, he did specify small. He probably lives in a small place. Anyway, thank you. Oh, I have to light the candle.
I have got a candle of concern and of gratitude as well. Over the last kind of month or so, my wife's been going through a really tough spell, and it's been really quite a hard time for both of us. And we have been so grateful for everyone in this congregation that's helped. We've had a lot of support and help, and we can't really even say how thankful we are with that. The concern, my mother and I haven't spoken to each other for maybe 5 or 6 years. We fell out and we just don't speak. I learned recently that she's not going to last very long. She's a condition on her lungs that is hardening the fibres of the lung, and it's not curable. So I wrote to her this week. We communicated, and I think things are quite in a good place for us, but I just wanted any positive kind of energy, vibes, or as well prayer for my mother at this time. She's struggling to cope with what's happening to her. So that's my concern. I'm gonna.
last candle that we light for the joys, the concerns that we are holding silent in our hearts this morning. Please join me in just a few seconds of silence to remember all that you've heard this morning. Thank you. It's my pleasure at this time to welcome back Aaron Rowe, who is coming to share a little bit about our Share the Plate recipient this month, the Harvest Hope Food Bank. So Aaron, we look forward to bringing you back.
Good morning. Thank y'all for having me back today. I love speaking to audiences. I did have to wear my Gamecock color, so there is that this morning. I was going to think about, I did speak to y'all a few weeks ago, and this has been weighing on my heart. This time of year is all about gratefulness and thankfulness, and there's a really strong conversation about we need to give somebody a turkey on Thanksgiving. I probably have hundreds and hundreds of calls over the next week or so because it's centered around just that one meal. And I really encourage y'all this morning, and I asked them, I was like, what are they gonna eat Friday? You know, and we really have to open up the conversation that's a year-round conversation and really address what's driving food insecurity, because that's why we're there. We're there for that moment when somebody's having to make a choice between paying a bill and buying food, whether it's to fix their car, or they had to stay out of work because their child is sick, or their electric bill is higher because it's cold out. There's a lot of factors that drive that, and that's really why we're there. This time of year is centered around giving. It's amazing. I love seeing people open up and at this time of year acknowledge that there is need. So I don't want anybody to misinterpret what I'm saying, but I really challenge y'all to, when you're thinking of giving at this time of year, what are we giving to do? Are we giving to end hunger? Because I think that should be the goal. Let's figure out what's making people have this food insecurity in our state. And we do have one of the highest food insecurities of the country. And there are lots of root causes driving that. We have a very rural population. We have limited access to transportation. We have expensive housing by where there's jobs. We, as a country, need to fix our healthcare system. So there's lots of things that are really driving people having to choose between buying food and staying in their home or keeping their lights on. And that's really why we're there. And we can do that, and we can change food insecurity in our state. And it does take everybody coming together. It takes us acknowledging that there's a problem. It takes us acknowledging that it is more than just giving somebody a turkey on Thanksgiving, which is great. I mean, I like turkey on Thanksgiving. It's delicious. But they have to eat Friday, and then they have to eat Saturday, and then they have to eat Sunday, and next week. So I just encourage y'all, as you're being advocates for food insecurity in our state, to really speak out about the issues that are driving the problem in the first place. Like I said last time, I would love to come back next year, and the numbers have gone down because we've taken action. We've come together. We've acknowledged that there's issues, but we also care enough that we are there for people that need it. So we are so grateful for the Pass Your Plate. We're grateful for y'all's support over the years. And I would love to hear many, many stories about how there's voices coming together to address the problems that are driving food insecurity in our state. And we can change that momentum, and we can change the number, and it can be better, because I don't think it's acceptable right now. And that's where I'm at. So my ask of you this morning is, let's feed people on Friday too, not just next Thursday. But thank y'all so much for having me.
Thank you, Aaron, for reminding us of that. And I believe our CYRE committee is planning a food drive in January, February, to kind of follow that theme that it's an ongoing issue and concern. So thank you for reminding us of that. This time I invite our ushers to come and receive our morning offering.
Our offertory music this morning is Air Spirits by Connor Chi. Connor Chi is a Navajo pianist and composer who's known for combining his classical piano training with his Native American heritage. He's a graduate of the Eastman School of Music and the University of Cincinnati's College Conservatory of Music, and he made his Carnegie Hall debut at the age of 12. His music for solo piano is inspired by traditional Navajo chants and songs.
Thank you, Anna. Beautiful. We receive our offering today, a symbol of our commitment to our good work. So we're going to practice something before we get started with a sermon today, because I've had several people say, how do you say that? So we're going to practice it together. You ready? So with me, say Haudenosaunee. All right, and put all that together. All right, there we go. So now you don't have to ask me how to say it. We are looking in this beautiful month of Native American heritage We are focusing this morning on the Haudenosaunee Federation, which is considered one of the oldest forms of democracy in humanity. And so we're going to look at this particular federation and learn about these 5 tribes that came together to form this group. I began to let you know that they are like-minded, and in studying this particular federation, this group of tribes that came together, it's been remarkable to see how many connections, how many values of Unitarian Universalism that feel so connected to this group that I think that by the time we finish today, not only will you know how to say their name, but you may even feel connected to this amazing group of people. I'll start with a story of a particular myth that describes one of the nations, and we'll talk about the 5 nations that come together to form this group. But one of the nations moved into an area that the council experienced as soon as they moved into the area as a place inhabited by wolves. And they figured that out by the repeated attacks that came on their village, which were causing them to lose numbers in their community. And so the council faced a choice. They had a choice. They could kill all of the wolves and therefore safely dwell in the area, or they could move somewhere else. And being faced with this choice, they realized that they were not the sort of people that would kill wolves just so they could live there. And so they moved to a different area. And not only did they move to a different area, but from that point on, they had one representative on council meetings who always represented the wolf. And they would begin council meetings with the question being asked to that, who speaks for the wolf, and what does the wolf need to be heard today? All right, beautiful, right? You like them already? They are called, you may know them also by the name of the Iroquois Confederacy by the French, or maybe even the League of 5 Nations. The Haudenosaunee Federation, properly called this by the name of the people of the Long House. And that's what the word means, the people of the Long House, because they built houses that could house up to 60 people living together under one shelter. We don't know the exact date of all these nations joining together, but tribal leaders say that it was done by time immemorial, making it one of the first and the longest lasting participatory democracies in the world. This confederacy is made up of 5 different tribes: the Mohawks, the Oneidas, the Onondagas, the Cayugas, and the Senecas, and intended a way to unite those nations to create a peaceful means of decision-making. Throughout the Confederacy, each of those nations of the Haudenosaunee are united by one common goal, and that is to live in harmony with each other, to live in harmony with themselves, and to live in harmony with the world around them. Each nation maintains its council with chiefs that are chosen by the clan mothers and deal with its own internal affairs, but allows the Grand Council to deal with other larger issues. It's often, as I said, described as one of the oldest democracies on earth, and the Haudenosaunee's constitution was believed to be a model for the U.S. Constitution. What makes it stand out as unique to other systems and constitutions around the world is this blending of not just laws, but of values, and a clear demonstration that every law that is created has to be connected to a value that is held by the group of people. For the Haudenosaunee, the law, society, and nature are all equal partners, and they play a role in this work. So I hate to share this one quote by Benjamin Franklin just because I will say that it is not necessarily the most politically correct way of describing the group of the Haudenosaunee. But Benjamin Franklin said about the Haudenosaunee Federation when he was joining with the Albany Congress in July of 1754, he said, and I'm just going to use the quote exactly the way he said it, "It would be a strange thing for us to look at these nations of ignorant savages, that they were able to form a capable of forming such a union that has lasted for all of these years, and we can't form a union that should be impractical for a dozen or so English colonies. I only share that quote to say there is a lot of history grounded in looking at this group of people that really transformed the way that we see so many things in our culture. So I'm going to share just a few stories and different myths from the Haudenosaunee mythology. One of those that is described as the picture that's on the front that we'll get to in just a few short minutes. We're going to focus on the first and main character, the prophet, and known as the peacemaker, who built a relationship with a leader named Hiawatha. Hiawatha, which is speculated to have lived anywhere from the year 900 to 1100, was a member of one of those 5 tribes that we named. He was born into the Onondaga tribe, but was later either kidnapped or adopted by the Mohawk tribe. And at some point in his life, he met a spiritual figure by the name of the peacemaker. And he believed that their future as warring tribes that were constantly fighting over land and resources or other conflicts that they had, that their sustainable future should be built on peace and connection instead of fighting and violence. And so Hiawatha began a campaign of peace. Different tribes were convinced of the campaign of peace, some of them by logical conversation and others by supernatural events. Hiawatha says he was very fortunate when he went to do his campaign of peace with the Seneca tribe that all of a sudden a solar eclipse happened. And he said, see, that's the sign. We should come together. Got to take advantage of all those opportunities that are there. The last of the tribes to come together of the 5 was the Onondaga tribe, from which Hiawatha was born. The leader, Adaharo, was believed to have a crooked body, and his hair was filled with snakes. And the image of this body that was broken by war and violence and disease, and then, of course, the hair of snakes that was filled with a mind filled with hate and anger. And so one of the myths is that a clan mother told Hiawatha to go in and comb the hair of the snakes and calm them down and soothe them. And in the work of doing so, the snakes became hair again, and the body then was healed. And Hiawatha believed that if you heal the mind, the body will be healed as well. And they became the 5th and final nation, or the 5th nation to join the League of Nations. A 6th nation was added later from the ceremony of the southern tribes. I share another story of the ceremony of and by the way, this is the image that we were just talking about, because once the snakes became hair again, the antler crown was placed on this last leader of the tribe of the Onondaga. Another story I share is the ceremony of the white pine. And when they decided to make peace and build their constitution, they found a white pine and dug up the tree by the roots, placed it to the side, and had a huge hole. And then they brought all of their weapons of war that they used to fight each other and buried them into the hole. And then in the hole where the weapons of war were placed, the tree was replanted. And Hiawatha said, from that point, the roots will go out, and we will know that we are connected by love and not by war. Sounds very Unitarian, right? Starting to sound like us. I think that Constitution created on connection and peace and putting differences aside may be a good timely, as Aaron reminded us in this week that's coming up, as I look out and I see Clemson Tiger faces and I see Gamecock faces, just remember we are connected by love as you head into this weekend, not war and fighting. And I particularly don't have a dog in this fight. So, sorry. Had to make the solid connection, right? One of the great things, as you heard me share with the children with some of the quotes from the Seneca tribe, which was one of those 5 tribes, is that they believed in the absolute power and equality of women, which was something that didn't necessarily get translated into the U.S. Constitution right away. Maybe we're still working on that a little bit, right? But for them, the difference between the role of women having equal powers was demonstrated by the clan mothers ultimately being in charge and choosing the tribal leaders, which could be either male or female. So the great image, as I said, on the front of our program is one of those clan mothers placing the crown of antlers on the tribal leader. Another great story from Hiawatha comes as he experienced in fighting the evil forces. He believed that one of those evil spirits of the Onondaga tribe that was plaguing them with violence, with the snake hair and the crooked body, broken body, also attacked his family, and several of his family members died. His 2 daughters died during a plague that came on the area where they were living. And as he was grieving the death of his daughters, he walked alongside the edge of a lake. And as he was walking in deep grief, as the myth describes him, bent over, eyes closed in deep grief, all of a sudden ducks flew over the water of the lake. And as they flew over the water of the lake, they raised the water of the lake up high in the sky. And he saw white shells on the ground. And he picked up those white shells, and almost instinctively, and looking at them close, he put them very close to his eyes, and he saw that his eyes were opened. And then he moved and put those white shells on his ears, and his ears he was able to hear, and then he placed them on his mouth. And from that, he developed the ceremony of how the Haudenosaunee people deal with grief and they deal with conflict. And he believed, Hiawatha believed, that grief and conflict were very much connected. Conflict is often what we get into with each other, but grief is conflict within ourselves, or whether we're arguing with ourselves or arguing with whatever we're blaming for that sense of loss. And so he developed from that experience what he described as the condolence ceremony, where they invite those who are in grief and loss or in conflict to first place the white shells of purity on your eyes, and then not let your eyes be closed to what you're experiencing, but be open to that experience. I can tell you from my experience and working with hospice for so many years, that the goal, particularly with hospice care, and just as you heard Susan describe what Cliff and Rick are experiencing right now, to not close your eyes off to the experience, but to open yourself somehow in the midst of grief and experience that eyesight, that vision of what you're experiencing to navigate grief. And then the ceremony moves to the ears. Once your eyes are open, once your eyes have clarity, what are you hearing? What are you listening to? What are you experiencing? And then lastly, and we typically get this out of order, but lastly, to put the shell to your mouth and to let it clear your voice, clear your throat, and to find the words to speak. We've often said, and alluded back to Shakespeare, who wrote that grief has to be spoken. You have to give your sorrow words. And what a wonderful ceremony of opening our eyes, opening our ears, and then opening our voice. I often wonder, like when we have meetings here, we should always bring some white shells when we know we're having one of those Unitarian Universalist meetings where there's going to be conflict. Just put some white shells in the room. And before we get too far and too deep into the argument, are we sure that our eyes are completely open? Are we looking and seeing everything? Or sometimes we get blinded by our own agendas or our own issues. Are we truly listening? Are our ears open? And if our eyes are open and our ears are open, then we've earned an opportunity for our voice to be heard, to clear our throat. So that is our introduction to the Haudenosaunee Federation. I hope that you enjoy getting to know them a little bit because I want to share their Thanksgiving address as a greeting to the natural world as a way of wrapping up today. The first time I heard this was in visiting the museum in Washington, D.C., and having an opportunity to actually sit with a Haudenosaunee elder. And I asked when sitting with her and listening to her describe this Thanksgiving address, greeting to the world, I said, "Is it a prayer?" She said, "Not really." It's not really meant to be spoken to a deity in the way that you might be thinking about it. I don't know how she thought I was thinking about it. But she said, and I said, "Is it an instruction?" She's like, "Not really. We call it the Thanksgiving address because we think that's important. But it's really about seeing and knowing that gratitude truly comes when we open ourselves up and see all that we are connected to." So I want to share as we prepare for this week of however we want to celebrate what the holiday of Thanksgiving is, to actually hear the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address, which is a greeting, as she described it, to the natural world. Hear the words of the Haudenosaunee. To the people, we have gathered and we see the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now we bring our minds together as one, as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. And with everything we say, now our minds are one. Say that with me. Now our minds are one. To the Earth Mother, we are thankful to our mother, the earth, for she gives us all that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk about upon her. It gives us joy that she continues to care for us as she has from the beginning of time. So to our mother, we send greeting and thanks. Now our minds are one. We give thanks to all the waters of the world for quenching our thirst and providing us with strength. Water is life. We know its power in many forms: waterfalls and rain, mist and streams, rivers and oceans. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to the Spirit of water. Now our minds are one. To the fish, we turn our minds to all of the fish life in the water. They were instructed to cleanse and purify the water. They also give themselves up as food. We are grateful that we can still find pure water. So now we turn to the fish and send our greetings and our thanks. Now our minds are one. To the plants, now we turn toward the vast fields of plant life, as far as the eye can see. The plants grow, working many wonders. They sustain many life forms. With our minds gathered together, we give thanks and look forward to seeing plant life for many generations to come. Now our minds are one. With one mind, we turn to honor and thank all the food plants we harvest from the garden. Since the beginning of time, the grains, the vegetables, beans, and berries have helped the people survive. Many other living things draw strength from them too. We gather all the plant foods together as one and send them a greeting of thanks. Now our minds are one. Now we turn to all the medicine herbs of the world. From the beginning, they were instructed to take away sickness. They were always waiting and ready to heal us. We are happy they are still among us as those special few who remember how to use these plants for healing. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to the medicines and to the keepers of the medicine. Now our minds are one. We gather our minds to send greetings and thanks to all the animal life in the world. They have many things to teach us as people. We are honored by them when they give up their lives as food for our people. We see them near our homes and in our deep forest. We are glad they are still here, and we hope it will always be so. Now our minds are one. We now turn our thoughts to the trees. The earth has many family of trees who have their own instructions and uses. Some provide us with shelter and shade, others with fruit, beauty, and other useful things. Many people of the world use a tree as a symbol of peace and strength. With one mind, we greet and thank the tree of life. Now our minds are one. To the birds, we put our minds together as one and thank all the birds who move and fly about over our heads. The Creator gives them beautiful songs. Each day they remind us to enjoy and appreciate life. The eagle was chosen to be their leader. To all the birds, from the smallest to the largest, we send our joyful greeting and thanks. Now our minds are one. We are thankful to the powers we know as the four winds. We hear their voices in the moving air as they refresh us and purify the air we breathe. They help us to bring the change of seasons. From the four directions they come, bringing us messages and giving us strength. With one mind, we send our greeting and thanks to the four winds. Now our minds are one. Now we turn to the west, where our grandfathers and grandmothers, the thunder beings, live. With lightning and thundering voices, they bring with them the water that renews life. We are thankful that they keep those evil things made underground. We bring our minds together as one to send greetings and thanks to the thunderers. Now our minds are one. We now send greetings and thanks to our eldest brother, the sun. Each day without fail, he travels the sky from east to west, bringing the light of a new day. He is the source of all the fires of life. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to our brother, the sun. Now our minds are one. We put our minds together to give thanks to our oldest grandmother, the moon, who lights the nighttime sky. She is the leader of all the women of the world, and she governs the movement of the ocean tides. By her changing face, we measure time, and it is the moon who watches over the arrival of the children here on earth. We send greetings and thanks to our grandmother, the moon. Now our mind are one. We give thanks to the stars who spread across the sky like jewelry. We see them in the night, helping the moon to light the darkness and bringing dew to the gardens and growing things. When we travel at night, they guide us home. With our minds gathered together as one, we send greetings and thanks to the stars. Now our minds are one. Now we turn our thoughts to the Creator, a great Spirit. For all the love that is still around us, we gather our minds together as one and send our greetings to the Creator. Now our minds are one. We have now arrived at the place where we end our words. Of all the things we have named, it was not our intention to leave anything out. If something was forgotten, we leave it to each individual to send such greetings and thanks in their own way. Now our minds are one. I hope that the beautiful words of the Haudenosaunee have helped us ground ourselves in the spirit of this season that we're in, to recognize that gratitude comes from an honest and patient look at looking around us at all that we are connected to. And if nothing else, I can give this to you. It's about 4 pages. And if someone at your Thanksgiving celebration says, "What are you grateful for?" you can say, "Well, let me get started."
I invite you to join in our closing hymn, number 317, We Are Not Our Own. Please stand as you're willing and able to join in singing.
Typically, after they read the address, the Thanksgiving address, which is meant to center yourself and all connection and what you are connected to, the typical response on the other side of "now our minds are one" is, now what are you going to do about it? Now that you are connected. And I can't think of a better way, because oftentimes when we extinguish our chalice, we are to figure out, like, all these things that we value and talk about in this place, how is it going to transform into action? And so I'll share as our closing words just a brief line, and I do mean brief this time, a brief line from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poem entitled "The Song of Hiawatha." Big words do not smite like war clubs. Boastful breath is not a bowstring. Taunts are not so sharp as arrows. Deeds are better things than words are. Actions are mightier than boastings.
Please join in our congregational benediction.
Thank you all for being a part of the service today. Before we go, I do have a quick announcement from our CYRE committee. They will remind you that the nursery is open till 12:30, so parents that have the children in the nursery, you got 30 extra minutes to enjoy tea, coffee, whatever, and a cookie out there before you pick them up. But the parents that have school-age children in CYRE, they want you to get them right away. So that those volunteers that are back there can also come out and enjoy some social time as well. Thank you all for being here. If you're a guest, please stick around and give us a chance to get to know you as we give you a chance to get to know us as well. Have a great week. It's so nice to meet you. Welcome. You going to spend the whole week, or how much? All right, very good. All right.
I'm just waiting to hear.
Yeah. You can read that. You can read that again to them, right? Oh, good. Awesome. Nice to meet you. Yeah. Good. I'm glad we don't always have an activity, so I'm glad we did today that gets experience that. Yeah. Awesome. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Enjoy your week here and visit. Oh, I know. I know a lot of people that do that, and I'm the same way. If I have something to figure, yeah. Perfect. Yep. Hey.
You read the book Braiding Sweetgrass? You ought to.
Yeah?
It goes right along. She's Haudenosaunee.
Is she really?
Yeah, and part of that clan, she writes about nature, but she writes about her culture as well, and all of those values you're talking about. Really good book. She did too.
What is it?
I think her name's Kimera. It's called
Or something fun. I'm trying to reteach myself how to make friendship bracelets because